rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of grey in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to this week's episode of The World of Gaming, the #1 podcast where we discuss everything that happens in gaming. And first of all, I want to welcome all our listeners. A big welcome to everyone who's live in the chat, and of course, a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. A big welcome. And Dutch, my man, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, just work and that's it.
Yeah, well, work also keeps me pretty busy these days.
Yeah.
But occasionally I sneak in the evening some time to play some games, and I love it, man. Gaming is fantastic at the moment. So many great games to play, and we'll talk in a minute about that. But first, again, a big welcome to everyone. I see a few familiar names here already in the chat. Big welcome to you, and we're gonna have a great show here today. Plenty of topics to talk about, and as always, we would like to hear your thoughts on the topics. So if you're in the chat, please let us know what you think. And of course, if you listen after the fact, drop your thoughts in the comments. You can also comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. So, Dutch, as always, we start the podcast with the most important thing in gaming, and that are the games that we are playing. So let us know in the chat, everyone, what are you currently playing? And Dutch, what kept you busy these last days?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a right mix over the last couple of weeks. So obviously, I'm still playing through still playing through Clear Obscura Expedition 33. I don't know how far into Act 2 I am, but I'm in Act 2. All the characters and things unlocked, and a
Yeah.
couple of boss battles down, so I don't know where I am in Act 2, but I'm at some point in Act 2. And of course, changed over, and when Doom came out, played a little bit of Doom. And of course, for those of you watching on my channel, you have Doom footage on at the moment. So enjoy a little bit of Doom. I don't know how long is the gameplay footage? Yeah, an hour. An hour's gameplay footage of Doom, so enjoy that. Then I went into a bit of a comfort game section. Played a little bit of Minecraft for a bit. It was just more of in a chilled mood where I just wanted to not really think about anything, not have to worry about kind of shooting anything or finishing levels or anything, and just relaxing. So I played a little more Minecraft.
Sweet.
And then I noticed on PlayStation Plus, Hogwarts Legacy was on there. And
great game.
I loved that game. Saw it was, and of course I've done the 1,000 on the Xbox version, so I'm going to go for the platinum on PlayStation. So I'm just chipping my way through Hogwarts Legacy on PlayStation at the moment. But yeah, so I'm juggling. So theoretically, at the minute, I'm juggling Clear Obscura, Doom, and Hogwarts. They're my three key ones.
Fantastic.
And then Oblivion's in the background when all of those are finished.
Yeah, I've parked that as well because there's just too much to play, and obviously I have played Oblivion before. But
Yeah, exactly.
I've installed it on my Asus ROG Ally, and it became my Ally game. So whenever I'm playing on the go, it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's a good shout. But yeah, Doom. I think this is I would say it's it feels. It sounds silly, but it feels a little bit more like an entry Doom, and by that I mean someone who isn't really great at or that good at Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. This one's a really easy game to get into for people who haven't played Dooms before. And I think the larger arenas make it a lot easier combatively. You've got there's a lot less chance that you're going to get killed, a lot more chance that you're going to dodge attacks. So, and the bullets, I mean, you've got bullet spreads, shield bashing, all of the maneuvers and things that you do. It's just so easy to wipe out like hordes of targets and things all at the same time. Lots of levels, lots of sections in the levels you can go to find secret areas and things like that. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting. One thing I do notice though, although the soundtrack's good, it absolutely misses Mick Gordon. I think Mick Gordon's soundtrack was significantly better than Doom Dark Ages.
I do agree on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
While it's still good, it's pumping the metal. It's all there.
Yeah.
It's not just like just doesn't hit the same way like for instance
not at all.
Did. Yeah.
Not at all. It's good, but I don't really notice it where with Mick Gordon's Doom soundtracks, you notice the soundtrack. And you're like, yeah. Well, this one, it's like there's just some metal playing in the background.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same.
Yeah, I agree on that. I agree on that. But yeah, it definitely feels a little bit easier than it, especially Eternal. Because I remember Eternal, there were some tough areas, some tough bosses, especially towards the end. And I haven't finished Dark Ages yet. But the good thing is there are plenty of difficulty settings. And I think this is the first time I actually increased the difficulty whilst playing. After the first 3 or 4 levels, I increased the difficulty. So then it's still a pretty good challenge.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm having a blast with the game. I'm absolutely loving it. I think how do I describe what I wanted to say? Doom Eternal is just, you know, this mixture of brutal gameplay and then and feeling just like a real badass is just constantly putting a smile on my face whilst playing Doom. And the shield mechanics introduce something new, something we haven't seen in Doom Eternal or Doom 2016. Um, with the parrying system and everything, I also feel like there's a good mixture of, yeah, you shoot stuff, but then you find these groups of enemies where you have to first destroy the metal armor with a proper shield throw, then do some damage with the guns, then rip and tear them apart, and it's just it feels so fluent and it feels fun and it feels badass, and I don't know, I'm just having a blast. There's also what's also really new in a Doom game is the proper storyline. I know people will tell me there was a story in Doom 2016 and Eternal, but only if you found like collectibles and read some letters and stuff, and there was no story in Doom before. And that's different this time, right? It's very different. They have cutscenes, they have a proper storyline, they have a bad guy. You know what's going on and why you're slaying all these demons. And um, while it's not a super deep story or anything particular interesting, I think they also implemented that pretty well in it, because the story is there. The cutscenes are not too long. It's not like you're playing like one of Kojima's games where you, oh, next cutscene, okay, see you in 45 minutes. You know, it's like it's just I'm loving it, man. I'm having a blast with the game. I see a lot of people criticizing it online, and I don't know. Sometimes it feels like we are playing different games when I read some of the comments online from people. Um, it's just pure fun. It's nothing deep. It's nothing super revolutionary where you say, "Whoa, this is gonna revolutionize the shooter genre" or something. No, that's not the case. But it's just pure fun. Pick up the controller and have a blast. So, yeah, I'm now in level 11 or so. I think there are 16 or 17 levels or something like that. So I'd say round about 2/3 of the game. Um, and I'm definitely going to finish that over the weekend. I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. So let's have a look here in the chat. What has our community been playing? Hertog Win, uh, our brother from the Netherlands, has been playing Expedition 33, FIFA, and Duolingo. Oh, learning a new language there. Good stuff. TJ always directly wants to jump into the topic of Steam. We'll talk about that, but we'll talk about that a little later in the show. H. Julia drops a channel member chat for being a channel member for 16 months, by the way. Thank you so much for the continued support there. Super appreciate that. And Sith Lord also drops a channel member chat for being a channel member for 33 months now, and says 2 weeks till the Switch 2. He's excited to play Mario Kart World. Yeah, man, the FOMO is starting to creep up on me. The FOMO is starting.
I'm not in a mad rush, to be honest, to get a Switch 2. Mainly, and the reason I say this, I will be picking one up. I need, as I've said, I need one. But there are so many games right now that I still haven't had the chance to get into and play, that picking a Switch 2 up now would be, it's not irresponsible, but it would be pointless, because I haven't got enough time to juggle the games that I've already got on. I'm still playing through Claire Obscura, still playing through Doom, as we've mentioned, we've both parked. Oblivion. I'm going through Hogwarts again, but shoot me. It was a big. I love that game, so it's there. I can get all the trophies for it, so I'm gonna do that. Then we've got Tony Hawk's coming up, and yeah, as much as I would like to play Mario, it's not going anywhere. The console's going to be out for like a decade before they change to the next one again after that. And then the only other real game after that is not till later in the year, and that's Pokemon XY or whatever it is, and Metroid Prime 4 when that comes out. So
yeah,
I'm not in a mad rush to get it right now. There's no real big release games there that I need to get a Switch 2 for on launch.
Yeah, see, I talked to you about that before. The thing is, I already have a Switch. I have a PlayStation. I have an Xbox. I have a gaming PC. I have the Asus ROG Ally. When it comes to handheld gaming, the Ally is the way to go. I never play my Switch these days in handheld mode. If I'm playing something on the go, which I do plenty, I really use my Ally pretty often. I'm playing whatever I'm playing right now. Yeah, I just mentioned Oblivion is my Ally game now. Yeah, and I've played a little bit of Expedition 33 on that thing, or South of Midnight. Basically my entire playthrough of South of Midnight was on the Asus ROG Ally, and I just go back and forth between my consoles and the Ally and continue my save files with me and the games that I'm currently playing. Whenever I want to use the Switch, I need to jump into basically one of the Nintendo games. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Mario and Zelda and so on. But yeah, if I'm currently playing through South of Midnight, I don't want to stop playing South of Midnight and play Mario Kart, which I have played hundreds of hours already. I just want to continue with South of Midnight, and the Ally allows me to do that, and that's why I'm really eyeballing the LE2 that is partnered with Xbox, right? That will come out at the end of the year, and before I get a Switch, I really want to get that thing. And whenever Nintendo releases a proper new 3D Mario or new Zelda or something, then I'll jump in. Yeah.
Like I say, my reason for needing a Switch 2 is because this one's knackered. Like, it still works, but I cannot play it in handheld mode. So, and my feeling on like the Switch on TV is horrific. Yeah. Like the Switch one on TV is horrific, especially if you've got a big 4K TV.
Yeah,
it looks like shit.
You've got a big 4K screen.
It looks like shit.
Yeah. But man, it's basically new hardware time, and I know a lot of people are super excited for the Switch 2, and I do hope everyone is going to enjoy that, because it's always exciting to get new gaming hardware, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Let's see. Dustin Lambert in the chat has been playing Expedition 33, and he's finishing up all the achievements in South of Midnight. Sweet. Bronte J has been playing Doom, of course. Let me know what you think of it. And Path of Exile 2, still, that is fantastic. His character is in Dawn of the Hunt, has level 31 with sniper minions. Sweet. Oh man, I need to get back to Path of Exile. I haven't played in like 2 or 3 months now.
It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere.
Not going. I'm still waiting for full release, because technically it's still in early access, right? Latest at that point, I'll should be jumping back in. Yeah, man, good stuff. So Ben, besides Doom, I've also finished up Expedition 33.
Nice.
I finished that last weekend, and
is it in your Game of the Year contenders list?
It's hard to imagine that there's another game coming out this year that will take that spot, other than Expedition 33. And I would go even further, man. It has been the best game I've played in years.
Yeah.
absolutely love that game. There's like, it's not just the absolutely awesome story from the very beginning, from the intro sequence on. You can tell, okay, this is going to be an emotional path. This is going to be a deep path they are going for. And they nailed it throughout the story. You finished Act 1, right?
Yeah.
You know what happens at Act 1,
Yeah.
where you're sitting like, what the fuck? And then you're going to continue throughout Act 2. And I thought during Act 2, well, multiple times, oh, now I think I'm going to be at the end because some really insane stuff happened. And then, but Act 2 is super long, man, super long. And then you come to Act 3, where it all starts to make sense, and a lot of things are going to be revealed where you would have never guessed. And then you finally at the final boss battle, and you beat the boss. You think you know by then who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, who. And then the epilogue starts, and you're like, the fuck are they doing there? It's like, it's just such an emotional journey, and then you're left with an insanely difficult choice at the end, man. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's like,
I've looked at the hidden achievements for the end, so I kind of understand there's the big decision to make, but I don't know what that entails. Like, the achievement kind of tells you there's a big decision to make, but what that entails story-wise, I'm sure I'll find out when I get to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, Expedition 33, I loved it. The gameplay, absolutely fantastic. The turn-based combat system combined with the dodging and parrying, I love that.
Yeah,
really,
it's a little bit. It's a more interactive turn-based, and I think that helps bring the modern audience into a traditional ATB-styled turn-based game. And by ATB, for those who didn't play the original Final Fantasies or anything like that, that's active time battle, which means that your opponent goes, then you go, then your opponent goes, then you go, then your opponent goes, then you go, and it's an active time battle. Turn-based RPG. And obviously this one's now interactive, so outside of your basic movements, so your basic move sets don't have any interactivity, it's just attack. All of your power moves, should we say, and your abilities, those all have like sequences where you can elongate them or do more damage if you hit the right buttons. So if you hit them at the right times, and then of course you can parry or dodge, and the parry windows and dodge windows, depending on the enemy, can be brutal.
Absolutely. But, this mechanic in there that the turn-based is more interactive also removes the necessity for grinding. I've never gotten grinding whilst playing through Expedition 33.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember a turn-based game where I wasn't at a point where I thought, okay, now I have to grind a little to level up my characters, in order to be able to beat the next boss or whatnot. And I've never had that moment in Expedition 33, because even if there is the most badass boss and you feel super underpowered, you learn their moves, you learn how to dodge or parry, and you can continue without grinding. And I love that, man. It's also dropped that gorgeous. There's one beautiful scenery after the next. It's a phenomenal game, and it'll be tough for any other game to take the game of the year spot. Honestly, I absolutely had a blast there. Yeah. Enemy Compilations in the chat says he's playing State of Decay 2. That is fantastic, man. I love that. I cannot wait for State of Decay 3, man. Luke has also been playing Expedition 33, and he is in Act 3. let me tell you one thing. Then you're close to the end because Act 3 is surprisingly short, especially when you compare it to Act 2.
All right. Okay.
There's the epilogue, and you definitely want to play through that as well.
In my chat, let's have a look here. Agent X-Force has been still playing Brotato.
Okay.
Pure Deadbeat Punk is 2 chapters from finishing Doom, but real life's getting in the way. Oscar Gonzalez is playing Halo Infinite and Stalker 2.
Oh, nice.
What else we got? I think that's it at the moment. Yeah.
Sweet. The Big Bridge is playing Ori and the Blind Forest. What a fantastic game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, Dutch. All right. Let us get into some topics, man. I want to start with not the biggest news of the week, but something we should discuss because Xbox has revealed a couple of interesting numbers, sales-wise, and for the first time, what feels like a long time, for the first time in a long time, they actually were able to increase console hardware sales in the last fiscal quarter. The year-over-year sales went up roughly about 8% for consoles. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Is the absolutely amazing and insane value that Xbox has been putting out this year? I mean, look at this year. We had Ninja Gaiden 2, Shadow dropped in January. We had Avowed in February, followed by South of Midnight and Oblivion, and of course then Expedition 33 dropped into Game Pass, and now Doom and so on. So do you think this is actually starting to get noticed, and or how do you explain the fact that for the first time in a long time hardware sales went up? Because when we talked over about the last earning reports and the last reports, we always talked about
declining sales.
Sales went down.
Yeah.
Declining sales. So, we have a guest. We have a guest.
We do. And I'm going to have to amend this.
Declining sales. So,
what's going on?
We have a guest. We have a guest. Okay. We also have an echo.
There you go. I had to turn off. Sorry.
Yeah, all right. No problem. BitCloud, how you doing, my man? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Hope you guys have been good.
Yeah.
I have indeed. Have indeed. I'm going to have to move the gameplay footage now, though, because it's right in your face.
Yeah. I also
right in your face.
Busy changing the overlays and stuff.
It happens. It happens. Nah, good to see everybody, man. It's been way too long. Let me tell you.
It's been a minute. Yeah. Sweet.
So, please tell me I didn't read this tweet right there, Dutch. You really are saying goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye to the midweek. Goodbye to the midweek mix-up. After episode 200 will be the last. Yeah.
Everybody's like in it. Back in a weird part, though, I understand. Gaming discourse hasn't really been. I mean, you both know it hasn't really been crazy fun. It's a little hard to get excited for a lot of stuff, and also.
I think it's mainly because it's like the news that is coming out is a lot of the time. This is me and Boxy kind of look at it as well, from especially when life's busy as it is. And then you look at the topics and you're like, we can stretch these out, but will it be actually entertaining for the poor folk that listen to the show every week? And it's like, not really. Like, what we're going to talk about sales figures all the time, or we're going to talk about, like, that's the only news that really comes out, sales figures, or a new game was announced. Great. Okay, so we're gonna really stretch that out.
and then you got the crazy reality, like a lot of these games. Like I heard some of you both were talking about this like briefly. Games not performing up to par, so to speak. But really, I mean, the answer has kind of already been in our faces for the longest time. We already knew what was going to sell these games. It was the price point. $50 should have been the absolute price point for these games, but they didn't. They didn't do it, and it says a lot, honestly. You know, games going to $80.
Yeah.
I don't see a bright future for this at all, and people.
Honestly, I've very mixed feelings because game prices across Europe are not increasing. They are already at 80. It's basically just an increase for our friends in the US, and as much as it sucks for you guys, I totally understand that. I mean, who wants price increases? Yeah, it's just I don't know.
Honestly, if games were going to the extra level of something like Red Dead 2, where you're getting so much content, you know what I mean? That is like it's hard for you to say no. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of spoiled in content.
Yeah.
Then I think people wouldn't complain, and games definitely would have been fine. But at the same time, though, you're seeing games get $80 price points or $70 price points, and you're beating these games in what, let's say 6-7 hours, some to 12 hours. You're beating them very, especially when we're heavy gamers like us, we stream, we play, you beat these games in record time. So when you have these factors going into play, it's really, really hard to justify any studio going up
I
all.
Totally understand that.
It's
I
tough.
agree.
It's tough. Like, I'm seeing the situation with PlayStation, I got a lot of weird comments. Let's put it like this. When I say, when people were trying to dogpile on the Xbox saying Xbox is raising the price, I'm like, guys, if 2/3 of the big three are raising prices on everything, what makes you think PlayStation's not going to do this? They're like, they're not going to do this. Then they literally give you the biggest warning of all time that, you're about to get the price increase, but then some. And that PS5 Pro might be $800, which is, it ain't even worth $700, but $800.
Yeah, that's just by itself without the disc, without the stand.
And we are talking without the stand, and we are talking without disc price.
Disk
and
drives.
If you add up, it already started at 900.
Yeah, though we're basically in Steam machine prices, and a lot of people are fanboying and trying to say this is the best way to play. But I'm like, the one thing that we made fun of during the PS3 and 360 gen, you're now actively trying to support, or you're trying to condemn gamers for not wanting to spend money on.
Yeah.
They rather invest in something bigger, which is PC gaming. PC gaming, we don't have these hurdles. You don't have to pay all this stuff, this extra stuff, online and all this. You just pay one set price and that's it. But the problem is too, and this is affecting PC gaming as well, is optimization.
Yeah,
these games are not optimized, so they're advertising you buying the top tier, top of the line card, and some people go, "Oh, I need to get this." Like you don't. That's usually on the developer side, but at the same time, this frame generation tech, that seems to be the crutch. That's the latest crutch to offset lazy. I hate using this term, lazy development.
Yeah,
but it really does offset the lazy, incompetence.
I agree, especially when you combine that with the, now super high price points for games. It becomes kind of a luxury product, right? And then you expect quality. And how many games have launched over the last years in a broken state or missing features, or feeling like they were buyers are beta testers, it's...
Like, there's only one game I can absolutely say that is actually proving that it is worth $80. In this case, though, I'm pretty sure it's going to be $100 because they can just get away with it, and they're going to buy GTA 6. That's the only game that actually looks next gen. Like, that blew my mind. I was like, wow, 5 years in this gen, and I haven't seen a game that even looks close to, to what's being done here. That screamed next gen. But other than that, I can't really name really anything that's like a crazy standout. That's like, like, wow, like this is taking gaming by storm. Creativity, sure, but not not visuals. Yeah.
I mean, Hellblade 2 was pretty
visually, visually and technically, Hellblade 2 was by far.
Yeah. I'm talking now about technique.
Yeah. Funny how that game.
I do agree. We didn't have, but we always do have that game. If I remember correctly, last gen, everything that came out at the beginning, the first 2-3 years, felt like, like
entry level.
Could have been done on the last gen console.
Right.
Well, yeah, you had a little bit higher resolution there and a few frames more there, but overall, it didn't really feel like next gen until Witcher 3 came out, where you just thought, okay, that's something new. That's something that could not have been done on the last gen.
I mean,
I think one
6 years. One thing that proved that it shouldn't have been done on last gen at the beginning of this gen, which everybody is famously aware of now, is Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Which was like, you should never have done that. And even they came out and said, we really shouldn't have done that.
I've seen the Switch. I've seen the Switch port, right, of it.
Yeah, that's actually impressive.
Yeah, that actually, I think all the people disappear in the city for it, but I mean, they had to find some way to make it work.
Make it happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like they did the Gotham Knights. I don't know if you guys remember that game, Gotham Knights. On the motorcycle, the city kind of condenses and stuff, and you see cars magically appear. They do that, so it's okay. It's impressive that it's on handheld, that's for sure. But I don't know, man. Nintendo, $80 for Mario. Nah, I'm good. Man. I'm good, man.
You know, and we've said this all along. Nintendo are still selling. It makes no difference.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Nintendo could have sold you that thing at the PS5 Pro price, and the dudes would have went out in droves and buy it.
Yeah.
Even though they're showing you off Discord features, which is their screen sharing, their cross game thing. It was 2 frames per second. They were streaming. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. But that's Nintendo. Nintendo can get away with stuff.
Nintendo lives with from its nostalgia.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
100% true.
You would think Sony would do this stuff. You absolutely would think Sony would do this at times like this, where people are really, really desperate for the real, things that made them fall in love with PlayStation. Where's the Resistances, the Infamous, all that? Where's all that?
Yeah. It's the problem is they've had to pivot. They've had to pivot twice. So they've pivoted to live service, and now live service isn't working, so they're having a hard pivot back, and that's going to take a long time. So now they've got a big dry period.
Yeah, and we're possibly looking at 2 colossal failures in the midst of this. I mean, we thought Concord was bad, but I think Marathon might be the biggest one.
We actually have that on the topic list.
Is it?
A couple of things happened there. Let's talk about it.
I didn't even jump ahead. I'm saying
no, absolutely. I mean, for those who, I think probably most have seen it online. Bungie, former Bungie employee, stole some assets that Bungie has put in the game.
Again.
Again. Yeah, that's the thing. It's an again. And yeah, so let me hear your thoughts, man. I don't feel like Marathon is up for success. Will it be gone as quickly as Concord? Probably not. Yeah. But it will also not survive very long, because the name Bungie itself is not going to carry that game. The Bungie that everyone loves is gone, and it's long gone. It died along the journey of Destiny 1. And for the last 10, 12 years, it's just not the same Bungie anymore. And for them launching something that is just a standard mediocre looking extraction shooter as a priced game, not free to play, in a world where everyone has these fantastic extraction shooters that are free to play, in a market that is completely saturated, filled with now a lot of controversy around stealing assets and stuff. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, first of all, I was going to say, I'm just going to jump in here quickly. I think, for me, Bungie, the one thing that put me off Bungie or playing Bungie's games was in Destiny, I think, was it Destiny 2, when they removed all historic DLC and said, oh yeah, this is like old stuff now, so we're going to, like, to make room, we need to...
Destiny 2,
to make room, we're going to kind of get rid of all this old storyline and DLC and things like that. And I was like, well, so I've spent money on this DLC and now I can no longer play it. It doesn't exist. It's gone. And then they did nothing about it and just made a poor excuse like, oh, we need to have extra room on the data center to... No, you don't. That's a load of bullshit. Like, that was... what a load of shit. There's absolutely no reason why you could not. The amount of games, juggernaut games, whether it be World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online or any of these massive MMOs, keep every single bit of their story content on there since day dot up until the newest release, regardless. Everything that they've ever released is still available to play. And they make a poor excuse to get rid of their that all of that content for no reason. And since then, it's just been one thing after another. Again, plagiarism, and it's countless amounts. It's like 4 times now they've been caught out for plagiarizing, and this latest one is ridiculous. It's like, but it's not even like things. It's not even it's the most basic of background stuff. It's posters and like background artwork. It's not like things like UI materials. It's not things like the character designs. It's not big things. It's like background things that any one of their internal artist team should be able to come up with by themselves without ripping somebody else off or just fiddling with the contrast to make it dark so it doesn't look like it, even though it is. It's ridiculous. And then of course, just the we're going to make this right. It's, what do you mean you're going to make it right? It shouldn't be happening in the first place. Why are any of your team plagiarizing? And the fact that your team follow this person that they've plagiarized on social and then claim that it was accidental is hilarious. But I think, as Boxy said, it's not the Bungie we knew or loved. So I think holding them up to a standard that we came to expect from them now is pointless. I think this is essentially a new Bungie team, and although they might have the same, might feel like a Destiny or might feel like a Halo when you play it, that's about as far as it goes as what Bungie is, because they just have the same mechanics as it was. Outside of that, it's not the same team. They're not creating the same style games. It's an online only extraction shooter. I mean, like, what's another one?
Yeah.
And again, it'll come with a cost. And what we said about Concord, if any of these games that are online only come with a cost, you better have a content reel out that's going to be massive, otherwise you will sink. You can't. Free-to-play games are successful because they come with plenty of content at launch and have a steady stream of content to sell you and plenty of maps to have going forward. Concord didn't learn its lesson, and I don't think Bungie will learn that before its launch and will inevitably sink as well.
Yeah, you would think they would follow the. It's crazy. This game is still like played. It still has like esports level content towards it. People are still on it, but you would think they would copy the format of Rocket League. You guys remember how small Rocket League was? It literally just came out of nowhere and then just took gaming by storm. And since everybody was on it playing it, and then the esports took it in, and everything happened. So when you look at, you look at Marathon. The crazy thing, one of the biggest things about Marathon, I'm getting Watch Dogs vibes, if that makes sense. If you guys remember when we first saw this, when we were kind of being sold in the trailers for it, they were showing the robots, the art style, it looks drastically different to what we eventually got in gameplay form. So when we got it in gameplay, colors looked gold, grayed out, weapons didn't look really, cool at all. Yeah. And the balance was just like, what is this? And also, if I remember correctly, I think there's only 4 maps at launch. 4 or 5 maps, yeah, it was like 4 or 5 maps at launch, which is insane. I never thought I would see that. That's something I expect in a game like, you guys remember that game Predator Hunting Grounds?
Yes.
I've never played it, but I heard of it, yeah.
So Predator Hunting Grounds had a map, like one big map, right? But they cut it into 4 sections. And so basically you're in the jungle and you're at different parts of the jungle at the start. That's what they did. And you're basically working, depending where you start. So if you start here, you're working this way, counterclockwise, and vice versa. When you click, that's how they did the maps.
Yeah.
It's very similar to this. You don't have no content here at all. There's no talks of like, steady like new game modes, no nothing. I'm blown away that Sony allowed this particular team have so much say-so in what they were doing with a lot of their games at this point, if this is what they were working on. Because someone had to test this. Let's just be like someone had to go.
I think the problem with a lot of these shooters these days is that they continuously go to these esports players as if they're like pro level designers. It's like, you've played pro esports, but it doesn't make you a perfect level designer. Nor does it make you make like great levels in general. So they keep going to these esports players or streamers, big streamers who play shooters online all the time, to get some form of feedback from them. And what they aren't professional game designers. They don't know how to make levels. So they're all going to give you a mix of random feedback that makes absolutely no sense. Like, oh, we want this type of thing, and we want this type of thing, and we want this type of thing, and you end up with like really poor level design, or spending far too much time on like 3 or 4 levels and not having a variance of many levels. It's mad.
It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, you could have had, like, again, if they were smart, they wouldn't have canceled 2 of the biggest things I know for a fact would have printed money, or at least kept engagement. Because remember, they recently came out saying they've been focusing more, or they want to focus more on engagement numbers, which all of us knew this was eventually going to come. They need more money in these games. They're not getting that much out of them. So engagement numbers and monthly users. You would think the Spider-Man multiplayer option that actually looked fun would have still made it into production, or they would have allowed that to go. You would think the other game, Fascist 2, would have happened by now to at least go alongside the TV show, because we know that's going to go to season 4 to finish part 2 of the game.
Last of Us carries.
There you go. The name alone has
carries.
Yeah, exactly. So you would think that these 2 things would have made it by now, and at least they would have had a good amount of money and you know, money coming through, that when this game eventually does drop and it does flop, because let's face it, yeah, I agree with both of you 110%. This game, I don't see it selling or doing crazy well, because it doesn't have the appeal of like a Destiny. I just don't see the appeal of Destiny. It doesn't have the hearts of like a Halo, so I don't think people who are Halo diehards are going to jump on board with this. But the thing that's probably going to keep this longer, like in terms of being alive, than 2 weeks than Conquered, is the fact that it's Bungie. Firesprite didn't have the name recognition to keep that game alive, to even try to drop content for it. And that game just died within, really, it honestly died after the playtest. You guys remember after the first free open beta? It was like 600 people, or no, 3,000 people, and then the game dropped. It was like 600 or 500. Sony has a gold mine right in front of them in terms of a free-to-play game module for a game like SOCOM. That could have been the game to go for if you really wanted to get viewers.
That's the point you made earlier, right? They have so much nostalgia to bank on and take advantage of. But for how long are people screaming, "We need a new SOCOM"? Yeah, there you go.
Resistance could have been it too for the sci-fi lovers. I mean, you have games that you can use, you can pull from. If you want to go into the racing type of thing, you know, instead of relying strictly on Gran Turismo, go back and get MotorStorm. Like there are games that are open to you that you have at your leisure to go out here and go. But now, as we already just said, this game's potentially going to flop. You have other games. Another game that already flopped cost like what, 600 million in general in losses, like in damages for that game. So you're already looking at just a bad state as it is, and people keep bringing up hardware sales. But I love people who bring this up because they're like, "Oh, this is the be all end all." But last time I checked, what do they make the most money on, guys?
Content.
Of course, it's
software. It's software. You can have the hardware all day. But usually they sell hardware at a loss.
They do. It's not the hardware you're selling the store. That's what you make the money off. You're selling the storefront, and you give an exclusive storefront or get an exclusive storefront along with the console.
And the problem they've got at the minute, though,
console sales technically do matter because the install base and the amount of users in your store. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's content, and you can argue all day long about Microsoft's strategy and the way how they are doing things now. But it's.
I mean, the problem is, on that note, on stores being filled with content, PlayStation's current problem is that their content or their store is currently being dominated by their rival platforms.
Xbox, exactly.
I 4 out of 5 games in the top 5 selling games are Xbox games, right?
Which is insane. And it kind of destroys the narrative that Xbox games are bad, or actually been destroyed. That the narrative. The problem is you just have this vocal minority that are weaponizing the casuals that went to PlayStation and are trying to say the Xbox is bad because it's like, no, it's just Sony won the casuals over. That's it. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with Microsoft Studios. And we know this especially. And you're seeing this with this complete tone shift with Helldivers 2. I mean, not Helldivers, Hellblade 2. Remember how Hellblade 2 was getting ridiculously criticized? Like, oh, this game is so barren. It's so the puzzles are so ridiculous. I'm like, did you play Hellblade 1? Because I platinumed Hellblade 1. I can tell you Hellblade 1 is exactly the same as this. The only difference is this one actually has a budget. Because the first game was done on a tiny budget. That's why you only had a one game character. And you had a few bosses, but you had mostly the same recycle boss. You had her, and then you had like people in the back in terms of like developers pretending to be like demons and stuff like that in the background. You had stuff like that. But again, this is what I'm talking about. Like this is the weird double-edged sword, the weird reality of what we're looking at here. And people argue every day saying like, oh, these games were exclusive. Dutch, you already know where this is gonna go. Boxy, you know exactly what I'm about to go with this. Like, if these games were exclusive, I would have bought the Xbox. No, you wouldn't. You would be right back in the same conversation saying the games are terrible, vice versa. You would not. In terms of what Microsoft's doing, if Microsoft does go through with this hybrid console with heavy Steam integration and your saves.
Perfect segue in the next topic, right?
Yeah. But no, if they
and I was going to say as well,
if they go with that hardware choice. Everything's connected. Positions.
I mean, just this week, we had what do you call that? A leak or rumor or whatever you want to call that? The report that Xbox has started testing the Steam integration into their Xbox storefront, right? It remains unclear whether that's on PC or for consoles, but you can clearly tell that this is what they want to do, right? Get Steam integrated in the Xbox ecosystem. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, it would be a novum, right?
No. If it goes the way I believe it's going to go, where if it's like one single purchase and you get it on both Steam, and Xbox, you know what I'm saying? Then that's brilliant because you created a perfect bridge for those who want higher performance. So let's say you sell like another Series X type of equivalent, like a cheaper entry level, and then you have your main entry if they want to still go that 2-unit approach for the cheaper entry to high to ultimate, for the PC side, you have that, but it's a one purchase thing and you have everything. Plus, when you eventually do, let's just say you're done with consoles, you're tired of console gaming, you don't want to pay for all this. You have all your library already set up for Steam. So you just basically jump over and you're there. Your achievements and everything move over to Steam, they pop, etc. It's all linked. I think that's actually brilliant because it opens up more options for the gamer, but also it takes away a lot of the stress that we all been facing right now. Because one thing people don't want to do is, because usually you see this a lot too. When people build PCs and they go strictly PC, they're either buying strictly from Steam. They're not really buying from console and Steam, if that makes sense. Like they're not double up and paying $80 twice here for the same game on a console and then on this. They're not doing that. They're gonna get it on one side and just call it that and just move forward. And that's kind of like where we're at right now, because games are I can't justify a lot of the price hikes. I can't justify PS Plus going up. I can't justify the everything happening. It just doesn't make sense. We're losing so much ground. We've lost so much ground as consumers, because usually it's the consumers that dictates where the market goes. Unfortunately, the consumer now, this new age consumer, believes that you saving money is a bad thing and that you're the enemy for having a cheaper alternative into gaming, which is weird to me.
Speaking of which, I was going to say, before BitCloud came in, he asked us a question, but it also blends into this one as well. Obviously, you say, is there a reason why Xbox is potentially gaining hardware increases for the first time in a while? Content was the answer. It's a continuous rollout of content on Game Pass. And because, of course, it's got Game Pass, we've mentioned it. I very much doubt a lot of that hardware sales will be X's, but I guarantee there's going to be a few people picking up secondary S's, Series S's, to save money in the long run. Because yes, a lot of these games are coming over to PlayStation for the first time, and in fact, most of Xbox's titles are going to PlayStation, as we know. That's still 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks a time every time they release a new game, and all the time. And then you've got big hitters like Expedition 33, which smashed it out of the water and is one of the best games of the gen. Which out of nowhere, and that's Game Pass day one. And then you've got Metaphors going on there this month, and you've got Tony Hawk's going on there very shortly. You've got Space Marines remastered version going on there now. That's just been announced.
Elder Scrolls that was just released. And,
Fable's coming up not too long ago, and then you like all of this content. Even if it is going on to PlayStation, there's a cheaper way of accessing that content, whether it be on Game Pass PC or Game Pass console.
The value proposition is just there.
And there's the only benefit that might be winning people over from a hardware perspective is, yes, I'm spending $300 on this Series S, but if I'm thinking of how much I would spend on the amount of content Xbox is putting on the PlayStation right now, where I could probably just get a Game Pass and then not buy all of these games and just get them.
The value proposition is just there. I mean, especially in times where we had just a few years of high inflation. Now we have the entire tax thing that impacts markets left and right, and prices have been going up for everything.
Yeah.
How much is Game Pass Ultimate again? Let me ask you. I mean, cut you off. Is it? 20...
I don't know how many US dollars. It's 15 euros.
Yeah, it's $12.99 for me. £12.99, which is like about 15 euros.
Okay, so it's like 15 here. No, here's what I'm saying. Because you guys pretty sure seen this argument that they're saying, evidently Game Pass is gonna go up. I mean, if it does go up, it's probably gonna go up to like $20, like a $5
If it does,
increase.
that's still value.
Yeah,
that's miles ahead of what you're already paying, because you went from $60 to $70 to now $80. So you're saving $60,
and that eventually leads that the informed customer is looking for the value, right? And it's an easy thing to say, okay, I'm gonna invest like $300 in a Series S right now, and in the long run, for the next 5 years, I can play games on that thing for basically free, right? That's just a fantastic value proposition.
Yeah,
I can't.
Coming back to your Steam point, I think.
Right.
I think this is also something. I mean, we've seen it on PCs. Steam is the de facto market leader on.
By miles.
No one plays games on Epic. No one plays games on Good Old Games or the Microsoft storefront, for that matter, right? People on PC gaming is Steam.
Why though as well? I think Steam is de facto, and before we get into it even further, and I think Xbox and anybody for that matter who's trying to get a marketplace on PC needs to be more competitive. Steam's game pricing is, especially for digital games, are second to none. It's like significantly lower on brand new releases, unless it's like a PlayStation title, in which case PlayStation just set it at a stupidly high cost and just expect people to invest in it.
I absolutely agree, but even if occasionally, for instance, Epic or so has good sales and good pricing, people are not happy with dividing their libraries.
Yeah.
And it might sound silly to everyone, but at the end of the day, people are tired of looking, okay, I want to play this game. Do I need to open the Epic launcher, or was it on Good Old Games or on Steam, or what do I open? This is... And I think this is the real key thing of this Microsoft approach now, trying to implement the Steam launcher into their thing, so people can, without having to open multiple and looking for where is my library, unifying the libraries. Doesn't matter where you bought it.
You can do it as well, where you can chat with everybody too on PC. And Xbox as well. If it's unified like into their cross game chat type of thing, where you have because Sony does this too, where they have like the PlayStation logo on their games when you're playing it. and then it'll say PC variant if you're playing a PC version. I'm wondering if that's something that they're working on too, where it's that bridge, like going back to what we are saying.
I mean, it kind of does. It kind of does anyway. I mean, if you have a look on an Xbox friends list when they're playing on PC, it shows the PC icon.
Yeah.
And of course, it tells you what game they played.
With them, if I remember correctly. I don't know if you could toss seamlessly. I think you probably can though with the Xbox app, but I'm saying
yeah,
like,
Xbox app, not Steam. You can't. Yeah.
With the Steam, that's what I'm saying. Like with that one,
yeah,
that would be the new evolution of the Xbox app.
I think obviously at the moment they've just got Discord for that, haven't they? They've just said that's why we have Discord integration, so everybody on every platform can talk to each other, and unless you're Nintendo.
Yeah, I love that.
But on a Steam integration note, I mean, it's going to look. I mean, honestly, we're not ones that need to worry about the financial aspect of it. We've spoke about this before. I don't know how they're going to manage that because Steam, from a price point perspective for third-party games, is significantly below Xbox Store. So if they implemented Steam onto Xbox, I would personally think they would lose a significant amount of third-party revenue to people buying Steam games instead of buying the Xbox equivalents on Xbox's marketplace. And that's for them to worry about. For us, it's great.
Incentives, like they're trying to do what PlayStation's trying to do with the whole, like, you buy, you sign or you link your PSN to Steam, you get X amount of benefits, something like that. Maybe if you think that's what they're trying to sell behind
maybe they have a certain deal in place there with
you got to add something extra.
But if they extend the Play Anyway to Steam, and if you get the Xbox version on the Xbox app as well as then get that game on Steam and have all your content with it, fantastic. Brilliant.
I think
because a lot of people would rather play the Steam version of the game than the one that comes on the Xbox marketplace because sometimes they work better, and it's weird, but they do.
I think that's the way they are going for with next gen. Obviously, the talks have been out there for a while now about Xbox launching next gen early and stuff. But if you ask me if I would have to place a bet right now, I think with next gen, the Xbox OS is gone. We are not going to have a dedicated console operating system anymore. What they will do is they will have a stripped down like a Windows version running on that thing. It'll not look like the Windows desktop. It's not like you're gonna see, the taskbar and everything.
No, it'll probably be like
they will have a dedicated overlay, but it's gonna run Windows. I've spoken about this before on the podcast because it'll solve so many problems for them. Developers not having to develop dedicated console versions. It's just the PC version
quicker
running on the console, right? It's not going to happen anymore that big games like Baldur's Gate or Black Myth Wukong and whatnot are skipping Xbox for whatever reason. A whole other discussion to be had. But
so like an Amazon Fire Stick, probably, you guys think? Like Amazon Fire Stick type of layout, maybe? Like you press over.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Steam Big Pictures layout.
And then you integrate, obviously, if it's running, and you integrate the other big storefronts, Steam or Epic and so on, into your overlay, into your game bar system, whatever it's gonna be called, right? And people have just access to the library and do not need to look, okay, I can play this game on that storefront and this game on that storefront. It's just all there. And it really, for the customer, it doesn't matter really whether they bought a game on Steam or on the Xbox storefront, and playing games through Gamepass feels the same like playing games on Steam. And this is gonna be their end game. And with that, I also, because a lot of people think, okay, well, Xbox is going to stop making consoles, and maybe they eventually will. There will be one next gen console. Obviously, they've already announced that it's coming. No discussion. But after that, they can license that thing out. And who doesn't say, I don't know, Dell or Asus or whoever, Lenovo is going to make a console, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be a very interesting thing if you open that up, because it's not a locked down Xbox OS, but an open Windows system that you can just Windows UI that you can just use on whatever machine you're trying to build. It'll open up for third parties. It'll be a very different console experience. And one last thing before I hand the mic over. It's also always the discussion about what is going to be the unique selling point after Xbox not having like console exclusives anymore, right? This is it. That's the unique selling point. It's the one machine to play all your games, right?
Simplicity.
Yeah,
that's really what it really will come down to is simplicity. To your point about like the Xbox being the last one, I would have to say the only time we have to worry about that personally is when if the hybrid console does not do well next gen, right? If it doesn't do well, if something as simple as simplicity, where you have a uniformed approach, where you have that bridge, easy path to PC gaming, an easy path to downgrade from PC gaming to the console. I mean, like a back and forth, depending on where you go. Because you might have different scenarios. That'd be a great way to sell it. Like you can go here, or you go to the bedroom and play it in the bedroom. Like that might be the whole marketing strat. But if that doesn't work for the next console, then sure, I would say that the Xbox consoles in general, I could say, we're probably not gonna see another one after next generation. But other than that, I would say that that's really a big toss up, because it really will come down to simplicity and the way things are going. Like I don't know if you like just by the way, if you look at the way just consumers have been voicing their opinions off of like price hikes, over features being removed, especially in the PlayStation camp. People are tired of paying more for significantly less. And people are saying, it's the exclusive side. Here's the thing about the exclusive thing. And this is coming from someone who was a firm believer that the exclusives was the thing that sold. We have seen these sales. A good example of this, and ironically, this game is getting a sequel. It's called Sorrows. Returnal only sold 700,000 on PlayStation 5. Just keep that in mind. That was a big exclusive. It only sold 700,000 copies on PlayStation 5. And people are talking about Sorrows. Now, here's a critical problem that Sorrows is in right now. And it comes down to Sony, and ultimately it will come down to greed. If Sony even thinks about putting $80 on that box for that game.
Yeah.
You see how I'm going with this? I don't see it selling even, I don't even see it touching 1 million. I don't see it. I see it being in the same ballpark as Returnal was.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like people just want to live their lives, right? People want simplicity. People want that simple answer, that solution, so they can go, that 9 to 5. They want to sit down. They want to chill. They want to relax. Yeah. These are options, and if you can't match that,
I mean, that has always been probably. Outside, of course, of certain exclusive games, the fact that you can, I don't know, play a Zelda only on a Nintendo console or something. Simplicity and convenience has always been the main reason why to play on a console.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one. Yeah. At all.
Like they had that.
Want to go for cheap power. If you
right.
PC has always been for the last 3 decades.
Yep.
Way to go, right? But of course, with PC comes also the constant updates, the inconveniences, the permanent upgrades you have to make on the hardware side, and so on. It's a decision to say, okay, I just want to take my controller, sit on the couch, play a game, and don't have to worry about anything other than playing the game.
Yep.
And that's the convenience of consoles. And if they, like you said, can bring it down to simplicity, to the real fact, this is a Windows thing, but you don't have to deal with driver updates and shit. All the stuff that makes the gaming, the Windows experience so inconvenient, right? You remove that. I mean, the play anywhere thing you just described, pick up the handheld, works right now. I have the Rock Alley. I play shitload of games on the Asus Rock Alley. I go back and forth in between my Xbox, pick up my save files on the Alley, go back to the consoles. Works perfectly already. So I'm not worried about that part. I'm more worried about, can they debloat Windows and make it convenient, you know?
I think that's the one thing, especially need to be wary about is, as you've mentioned, the main driver for consoles being as popular as they are is that the casuals want something that can plug in and play without any inconveniences like updates and things all the time. Yeah, we get the occasional console update. For the vast majority of the time on Xbox, you don't have to worry about it. It just installs in the background, you turn it on, there's already been an update. On PlayStation, it tells you there's an update, and then it updates and then it restarts the console. That's fine. On PC, of course, you get bugged 55 times. So, new Windows update. Do you want to restart? Do you want to restart now? Do you want to shut down and restart? Do you want to update?
Then you update the driver.
Yeah, you update the drivers, X, Y, Z.
Driver, and then
the one thing that they don't want when they're making this hybrid console is the inconvenience of having to deal with any of that stuff. Like any of that stuff. If they can somehow make it simplicity where it still feels like a console and you don't have to worry about doing the driver updates, even though theoretically it will be a hybrid PC, then they'll be fine. But I think the moment, the only way it can fail is if it does go into the realms of feeling more like a PC than a console. And you start getting pop-ups about driver updates and things, because if that starts to happen, or if that does occur on this hybrid console, then I think it probably won't pick up as much as they hope it does. And that's one thing I think they need to be wary of.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%. I agree.
Pyromet sends in a channel member chat for being a supporter for 21 months now, and says, "Hey, I'm lurking, but the phone is dead, so he's watching without the chat." So glad you're here, man. So glad you're here.
And I also need to shout out Stu actually from earlier, because I forgot to shout this out. We were in the middle of a conversation, but Stu, 33-month mix-up recruit. So thank you, sir, for being a member for 33 months.
Sweet. So yeah, the when do you guys think we will see something official with the Steam integration on Xbox? Because I think it's going to come first on PC. And honestly, I still have the statement from Jason Ronald at CES this year in January in my ear, where he said, okay, there are big changes coming to how they operate everything. And we will see that this year. That's what he said. He said
you might see the test. Yeah, the testing might start going out maybe in June, and then they'll lead into they'll feed everybody speculation, obviously get people talking, and then when we get to the official reveal when it's like hardware integrated with the store.
Yeah, I think the first hardware integrated version of whatever they're playing on is on the new ROG Ally.
Yes, I agree.
I forgot about that thing too. Yeah, that's the other big topic. Are you guys getting one? Do you guys like the look of what was looking like? You guys like
absolutely?
You're all in?
I already have the LE. I love that thing.
That's right. You do have the Ally. You were a big Ally person. You and Kayasanti, both were obsessed with those. Yeah. That's like,
so I love that thing, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a great device, but you can tell already, the hardware needs a little bit of bump there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely going.
It needs a dock. That's what it needs.
I mean, you can get a dock for $20, right?
Oh well.
For me, it's I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see what it's like. In terms of
Buddhist man, I'm waiting
until see. I've said this before. I'm waiting theoretically. If I was going to get an Xbox handheld, specifically an Xbox handheld, because if I want to play on PC games, I'll play it on a PC. And next gen, as it stands, if Xbox are going the route of what they're thinking about doing, and obviously being completely cross-platform anyway, I have no reason to invest in hardware by Xbox outside of a handheld. A handheld I can justify because that is allowing me to take native gaming on the go in an Xbox format. Great. I don't mind that. Nice and simple. But I would rather have a PC for gaming or for Xbox games and PC games than have another Xbox console that if every first-party game's going everywhere, I may as well, if I want the best version of Xbox games, get a PC. So I'm just going to build a new PC.
I'm shocked that he's saying this. Remember, he was the biggest connoisseur talking for this handheld. Now he's like, I don't know. You were this was like the biggest talking point for months. You were talking about this. I'm excited. I want to see what it does. Now you're like, yeah, I'm away. At least you didn't buy a Portal. I'll give you that. But you didn't buy a Portal.
No. I mean, I've got a few people that have a Portal in the UK, and the problem you've got here is, and a lot of people have mentioned it, when you've got strong Wi-Fi, fine. But the moment you get into shitty hotel Wi-Fi, which is shared between thousands of people in the hotel or hundreds of people in the hotel, it is terrible. It's a terrible option to try and stream or play your games. It really is. Connecting to airport Wi, it just isn't a good experience outside of your own home network. It is a waste of an investment.
The general thing with streaming has become really good. Not that.
Oh yeah, it's worlds better than what it was in the PS3 gen when it was introduced. It's worlds better for sure.
Yeah, and that the same thing goes for Nvidia streaming or even xCloud has become a lot better. It's a good experience to play, but
but it's not ideal. It's still not ideal solution.
Captain Chats in my chat here says I have a strong Wi-Fi in my house and still crap.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
He said he's tried so many times. He's also tried using his cellular network, and it's terrible.
See, that's the thing I would never do. I would never want to do that neither, just to play the game. At that point, just give me just give me a PSP2.
That's why I've always said native. Like it's when we saw the Xbox. Who was it that did the cloud only handheld for Xbox? And I was like, why? I was like, it's just not like cloud version streaming games is terrible unless it's native on handheld. I do not want to know about it.
Right. like some ideas sound amazing on paper, but it's just like you have to feel the reality of the situation. Like the reality is it won't work the way you're envisioning it. A good example of this was that company. What was it? Google Stadia. Remember how Google Stadia was talking about how it's more powerful than PS4, the way their clouds were with the power, and then we got it not even close to what the hell we were showing. So,
well, to be fair though, the one thing you've got to give Google Stadia is that their network and their streaming was streets ahead of others.
Oh yeah, no,
everything else was at the market at the time, but of course technology has evolved. And again, I think the cloud experience has become a pretty good option, but only in certain situations. Like, I've checked out the xCloud streaming on my TV through the app. It actually works really well, but of course the TV is hardwired. It's not Wi-Fi. It's like, then it is a good experience. But when you're on mobile data, when you are, like you said, Dutch, in a hotel where you have to tunnel through 5,000 VPNs, and then it just is not.
Don't get me started at the airport.
Being an option, right? That's just the harsh reality there.
Oh yeah, no, that's insane.
So, guys, let's stick with Xbox real quick.
Yes,
different topic. There was a surprise drop yesterday, actually. Xbox released a retro streaming app where they have launched 60 retro games from Activison back from the 80s and the 90s. You can now play. There are, some real old school games in there, but a few really good ones. There's Pitfall in there. There's the original Zork in there, the tech space adventure, stuff like that.
And all with achievements.
Yeah, no achievements. Who cares? Who cares about achievements or trophies?
I'll say that. I'll say that.
I'll never understand that. I really do not understand why people are excited about trophies or achievements.
I mean, the same reason we're excited for it for when we eventually get Jet Set Radio Future and everything. I want to actually, go through that and add that to the list. But
Yeah.
same thing. It's just like, it shows our level, our age, because that's from our age of gaming where we didn't have social media, where we literally would, like, if you had an Xbox and Dutch had a Nintendo and I had the PlayStation, we literally just go to each other's houses and play those and game
or bring it with you and
bring it with you. We had those big backpacks back in the day, and we would just play. I remember those. So it's like, looking back at being able to go back and go through those games, it's like, yeah, this is our era. You don't get it, that's fine. But this is our era. We are the kings of this era. So, but it's cool. Like, low key, I saw it, I was like, damn, that's awesome. And I was kind of thinking, especially when we were talking about the whole Steam integration, I was thinking, maybe that's like one of those incentives that they can throw in there with the, because again, back to what Dutch was saying about matching the price of Steam. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah,
they don't have anything really to lose, because remember, they're just a storefront in general on Steam. I mean, on PC. But I really do think that they could throw that in there as like to sweeten the deal type of thing, to make it, make up for the more likely a higher price, but you're at least getting more, if that makes sense, for what you're paying for. So that's how I would say it. Like, it'll say guaranteed access to retro.
Yeah.
And all for that. So maybe.
I mean, I was surprised. I checked it out. I tried to play Pitfall, and I mean, it's all streaming based, so it's not that these games are running natively on the console or PC. It's everything's streaming based. But again, I find the idea really interesting to do something like that, because let's face it, this is nothing that is going to move the needle in any way, shape, or form, right?
No,
anything streaming related won't move the needle. They want
for them still to invest into something like that. I mean, it comes down to game preservation, right? Because you will not find a PC where you can properly. I mean, there are emulators out there. Don't get me wrong, but just and basically you can emulate these days more or less everything. But there's really no native version to just play Zork again, right? DOS games, they don't run anymore on your Windows PC, unless again you emulate certain things. And I think it's a really interesting idea that pays into the whole game preservation idea. And for that, I really was surprised to see that, because again, it's not gonna sell any subscriptions to Gamepass. It's not doing anything in terms of console sales, but for them to still invest into something like that, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it's another little bonus that no one saw coming. Nobody even spoke about it, leaked it, anything like that. It just dropped. It was just, here's some retro games. It was, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Bronte J in the chat asks a question. Hey, BoxyDutch and BitCloud, with Steam coming to the Xbox next gen, do you think it will be the start of the downfall for PlayStation, and the next Xbox will be the smallest and cheapest PC?
So that comes down strictly if PlayStation is smart and does exactly what me, Boxy, and Dutch are talking about right now with Xbox. If they don't do a Steam integrated box and they continue to go down this two solution approach where you need to buy the same game twice on one side in this, then you're gonna see a lot of people look at Xbox a hell of a lot different. And that's mostly due to how much money they're saving and the overall simplicity, especially those who are aspiring to go to PC and want to build Steam libraries and want to get into PC gaming. They'll have that option to go down there, but this time it will be a legit kind of like work curve. So they can play all their games on Xbox while conveniently either buying, getting their parts and building it, or buying their pre-builts, and they'll already be right where they left off, especially if they do the game save transfers and everything. I think that will be their perfect way of just getting people in line with their style of ecosystem, because it's really going to be the ecosystem war. It's kind of already merged into that now. But when we get into next gen, that's fully where it's going to be, like which ecosystem is doing the most for you in a sense. And so I do believe Microsoft has a good chance at that. But again, it comes down
to two things at the end of the day. It's execution. I mean, the idea Yeah, the vision is there. We can all see it right there. But let's face it, Xbox has had a lot of good visions and ideas over the years.
Yep.
And usually they lack in proper execution. So
or they'll kill them. You're like Alumaroom. Alumaroom is still to
Exactly.
this day was a cool idea, but it never happens.
yeah. So it obviously comes down to execution. And then the second thing is, and I see that a lot in discussions from people from the United States, is they kind of underestimate how irrelevant the Xbox brand is outside of the US in most markets.
Yeah.
It's you can
They tried, but
talk
it just
all day
it
long
doesn't
about
work.
value and things. If people do not know about the product and that it exists, you can have the best product in the world. It'll be super hard to challenge a PlayStation here in Europe. I'm telling you that. And it's just most people do not know what an Xbox is.
Nope.
I see it all the time. I see it at work. I see it with my kids at school. People do not know what an Xbox is.
And some people might think you're saying that out of spite, but it's actually true. It was even more prominent, especially with the 360 gen. I remember when 360 pretty much mopped PlayStation 3 for the most gen. What was the main selling point or the main areas that Sony was coming back with? It was Europe. Europe was like their biggest console adopter, so to speak, and other areas. So it's never really changed. This has not really changed in their favor.
Exactly. It didn't change when they had no games. It didn't change when they had games. It is just the market dominance of Nintendo and PlayStation in the console space, right, is so big. So for me, it is kind of hard to imagine a day and a scenario where you can actually see that shift in a significant way. What I do think, though, is BitCloud is probably an extension of your arguments there. The thing about Sony is they have a super popular brand globally.
Worldwide,
right? Everyone knows PlayStation. They know it's the gaming console if you want to play something else than Mario. The question will be not is Xbox going to rival PlayStation, but PC. PC has become, we've badmouthed PC earlier, right? How inconvenient it is. But if you look at it from a neutral standpoint, PC gaming has become significantly more convenient over the years, right? And there are, and everyone has a PC. Right, because everyone needs it either for school, for work, for I don't know what. Everyone has a PC. PC gaming has become more and more popular. I think the next gen is not Xbox versus PlayStation or Nintendo. It is about consoles versus PC. I say really does. On a global scale, it does not really matter that much what Xbox is doing with the next console in terms of who's going to win the console race. But I think we will see an overall decline of the console market. Because a lot more people will transition even over to PC. We've seen it with handheld gaming, how popular that has become, which was prominently dominated by the console space, right? Even going back the Game Boy, or the PlayStation Portable, and then the Vita, and handhelds.
Game Boy SP. I mean, we had so many options back then, and now
3DS and everything, right? Handhelds have been defined basically by the console market, and then Steam comes along with the Steam Deck, and Lenovo and Asus and everyone follows suit, and suddenly this handheld market becomes something. Hey, I can have that experience, the Game Boy experience, have that, but with, I don't know, the latest Assassin's Creed or whatnot. And I think the overall console market will see a decline. And with that, of course, Sony will also start to see a downfall in terms of install base globally. But the ratio in between Xbox and PlayStation, will that shift significantly? I doubt it. And that's also why I think that Xbox is heavily going to focus on unifying that experience of the PC and console.
Yeah, no, they have to. It's the smartest thing to do it because right now, like even if we go with the argument like for next gen, like console, like you were just saying, consoles versus PC. If you just look at how much growth PC gaming has gotten this generation, can we really say it's really a battle going into next gen? And I wouldn't even say it's a battle for consoles versus PC because PC gaming is already still ridiculously supported and it's got so much leg room now. You know what I mean? Like
growing. It's a growing
it's still
market.
growing. Right.
It's the console market. It has been more or less stagnant for 25, 30 years now.
Yep.
It sometimes shifts a little. The 360 days, Xbox was pretty successful. PlayStation 3, they at the end of the gen, they had like together, I don't know, 160, 180 million console sales. You add up the a few millions of Nintendo users, and you end up at, I don't know, 220 to 250 million consoles per generation throughout everything.
Look at
that
like
has
this
been
too.
more or less stagnant.
No. Just to your point, you have to look at it like this too with console gaming. Nintendo had to go all the way back to their old school roots when it came to mobile and tapping into a mobile market to pass the 100 million plus, you know what I mean, threshold. I think they've outsold PlayStation 2 now, right? Or if they're on par with PlayStation 2 lifetime sales, it's one of those two. Something like that,
more or less on par.
Right. They sold a ridiculous. Right. They sold damn near outsold the PlayStation 2. But keep in mind, that is something that is not strictly into the console side. It's a hybrid, but it's more in the mobile, Game Boy S, going back to the Game Boy SP type argument. We're in that. Console gaming, people keep bringing up PS5 doing X amount of sales. It's behind PS4. I don't see PS5 touching PS2 sales numbers. I don't see it touching that. I don't see it getting close to that. It might get close to PS4, but again, there's a ceiling here. I don't think Sony's ever going to drop another console that's going to touch PlayStation 2 lifetime sales. I don't ever think that's going to happen, especially with the way prices have gone up, and we're now going into a realm, especially with the way things are now, with because you're paying $800. You're gonna be paying $800 when they do the price increase for PS5 Pro. So you're paying that, and you're just doing that for the illusion. Well, okay, implementation of FSR4 because they call it PSSR, but it's basically FSR4. When PS6 comes out, it's going to use the full version of that. $800 for an implementation versus the full thing. I can already see that next console being in the $1,000 price tag with the way things are going prices wise. So that's why I'm saying, I don't believe it's going to hit those crazy thresholds for next gen. But it goes right back to the point though, console gaming, what you're saying exactly is true. It definitely is stagnant. It has a ceiling, and
I think Sony will learn that this gen. I think Sony will learn that at the end of this generation that it has a ceiling, because ultimately, I don't believe PlayStation 5 will reach the same heights as the PlayStation 4. I think, and it's not at the moment. It's tracking behind the PlayStation 4. They keep saying it's tracking on par.
It's a little
77.
It doesn't really matter whether it's at the end of the gen 100 million or 98 million, plus minus around about 100, plus minus a few million here and there.
Yeah.
It's always more or less
the same. You're not gaining anything.
Yeah, you're not gaining. You're
definitely
not
not in
losing.
That's for sure. We're not getting that much anything.
Yeah.
So I agree. All the great points all around. I agree. It's a weird double-edged sword because this is the only generation where I can absolutely say with a straight face and confidence where prices have steadily went up and content has significantly dwindled, if that makes sense. We haven't got no crazy content out of at least the PlayStation side as much as what you're seeing with the Xbox and now even Nintendo. Nintendo is actually, despite all the ridiculous stuff they're doing with their prices, they're dropping content. I can't knock the content that they're dropping, but it's a weird situation we're in. It's a weird dynamic. You're number one. You're the lead platform in terms of the home traditional console, and you can't do the bare minimum of maintaining software for your, you know what I mean, for your user base.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see that in a long time. That's a weird situation.
It's going to take them a little. I mean, Captain Chats in here says it's going to take Sony the rest of this gen and potentially half the next gen to get back on its feet after the pivot to live service. And by then, Microsoft would have changed the landscape beneath their feet. And I think that's true. And yeah, PlayStation has been dreadful, as he points out, this gen. There's been a lot of cross-gen games to sort out with. There've been a couple of games that have been decent, like Returnal, etc., that were well taken. But ultimately, a lot of the stuff that they've released this gen has been remasters or remakes of previous titles.
Yep.
Cross-gen games, and then a bunch of live service games that have failed to achieve.
Or a few sequels. We got Spider-Man 2, we got God of War Ragnarok, we got Horizon Forbidden West, but those were sequels that really played the exact same way like their predecessors.
Yeah, nothing changed the landscape for those titles. There wasn't anything that was new for those games.
Yeah.
We knew
Wolverine kind of had me on the back burner in the sense of like thinking that was going to change a lot of the stuff, right? But after you guys saw a lot of the leak stuff, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
It looks fine. I'm not saying it looks bad, but I'm saying like it's not doing enough, if that makes sense. And that's where the weird scenario is in going forward too.
The formula's not changed. It's the same game, just for the
It's a great game, and everything will come out like 7 years into the gen, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's just itching and waiting for the next big console to arrive.
Because if that's $80, the next Wolverine that we've already seen bits and pieces of, I'm gonna be honest with you, I already know how the internet's gonna react to this. You're gonna see those who already played the leaked footage start spoiling everything and start
then people will be used to $80 games. That's the other thing. Let's not forget people are getting used to stuff like that pretty quickly.
I don't know though. That's the weird thing though, because we have seen this crazy amount of data, and we've seen it with our own eyes. The $50 game price point has been exceptional in terms of price. I mean, in terms of sales.
Absolutely.
So it's hard for me to really say that $80 is going to be the standard because there's no guarantee that all the games. You got to look at the games that Sony has right now. Like Sony was smart by not putting $80 on Ghost of Yote. Nobody was paying $80 for that. I'm be honest with you. Nobody was paying $80. As much as I like Ghost of Tsushima, I knew Ghost of Yote could not be $80. But now you're in a weird predicament because you had that new game from Naughty Dog, which is called Intergalactic.
Yeah.
I don't think it's smart to put $80 on that. But knowing Naughty Dog,
the way
Naughty Dog has been charging everything, it's going to be $80. And that's the weird vibe. You know, Sorrows, I don't think Sorrows needs to be like that at all. And vice versa. You know, Wolverine, I can't see it, but I already know. It'd be hilarious if they asked for $80 for baby steps. That'd be hilarious at this point, but they're not going to do that. But still, I can't. $50 should really be something they need to go back and look at. If you need to take a little loss on this, I think the tiny loss.
It's just going back and creating smaller, more precise title. I mean, Clara Obscura is a perfect example of not needing to overdo it. It's still like a 20-something, 30-hour game. Maybe it's a little bit more if you do all the side content. But it's $50. It's absolutely fantastic. It's got replayability because you can do a lot more content to it. It's going to have a new game plus. There's a lot of stuff to it. It's a fantastic game in general. And that shows what 30 people can do and release a $50. And this is what a lot of game studios need to look at. And I think Xbox know that now because Xbox have got this whole wave of, okay, we've got high-end content. We've also got this mid-ground content. And we've got this low-ground content. And they've got a good mixture. And of course, they've got the benefit of everything goes on Game Pass. But even still, they've got games that fit into each bracket where they go, okay, this one is a $70, $80 game. Very rare does that happen with Xbox. The likes of Hellblade, again, that was a 40 odd $50 game because it was shorter in content. And then there were so many of the titles like that this gen from Xbox where it was just like, this isn't like the big stuff. So it's of
Yeah,
course not
do
going to
you
be big price.
do you ever feel like now, especially with the prices, especially going up, that we're basically essentially paying for these top build actors to be in games now? Is that what you guys think? Because it's just weird. Like a lot of these games, like back what you were saying, like the $50, just cheaper entry level games, like scale them back. I do believe that that would fix a hell of a lot of problems and get a lot of games out of the red in terms of the public eye back into what they should be looked at as must-haves. But the thing is, too, though, you see a lot of these studios try to up the ante. They'll announce a big name actor, like for example, a good example of this is Idris Elba, who was in the Phantom Liberty campaign for Cyberpunk. You see what I'm saying? They'll use these top tier characters or top tier, actors like Keanu Reeves, Cyberpunk. Again, they'll use these and they'll try to just throw that into the, on the cover and be like, hey, this is worth $80 for that, but they don't. They misrepresent the true definition of content. What really people are paying for? People are paying for, the actual game. They don't really care about who plays the character. The character can be played by anybody. Just give me a good game, solid content.
I mean, Expedition 33 had a $50 price point, Andy Serkis.
It can't be understated. I'm seeing people crying at the ending. Like that's stuff that you need to really look at and go, that should be our staple, $50, and just go off of that. And yeah, sure, you probably won't have the craziest, insane looking financials, maybe on some kids. But honestly, I don't even think I think that would be false too, though. I think it would sell enough to make you to go
absolutely.
High. Yeah, I think that's the other thing people need to understand too. Like, you don't have to pay all this extra for this, that, and the third. All you really should be worried about is the sales. If the game truly sold, like, picture like this: $50, right? The game's $50, and the game goes on to sell $25 million. I think that'll look pretty damn badass on your damn financials, and you'll be fine to fund whatever studio, whatever the hell you need to do going forward. But a lot of people are like, well, what about the $80? Okay, so let's put it to $80, and the game sells what, $3 million?
Yeah.
What looks more appealing?
I mean, the actor thing is probably part of the puzzle why game prices increase.
Oh, yeah. You see, they negotiate their roles. They ask them for a lot. I guarantee they ask for a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So that definitely plays a part in it. But I think overall, gamers have come to get used to a certain level of production quality. I mean, yeah, people want the fantastic visuals and the mocaps and the 3D audio and the close to photorealistic visuals and everything. So the overall production quality in games has become actually insanely high.
Yeah.
And of course, that also pays into that. I mean, yeah,
because they got to up the ante, and you're seeing this with the budgets. Like, for example, Spider-Man 2018, one of the biggest cinematic parts about that game is when you're fighting Doc Ock on the side of the building. You know what I'm talking about? That scene when you're fighting him. They upped the ante for part 2 because the budget went from, I think the budget was like 100 million for Spider-Man 1, right? Probably like 100 million, 90 million. Then it went to 200 million. And the reason why I went to 200 million is because of who? Venom and symbiotes, and doing all this extra stuff with the symbiotes and all these other set pieces and all that stuff. And of course, potentially spinning that off into because you know what, that was supposedly on the back burner was the Venom crossover game or something like that with with everything else. So it's the same thing. It's like they're upping the ante, but at the same time, sure, we appreciate it as fans, but ultimately it's going to cost us more in the long run. That right there is like, it should be like this. So, it's a shame. It happens. It's a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Let's move over to some community questions we got this week.
Nice.
Our listeners probably know that already, but each and every Wednesday we put up posts basically everywhere on Blue Sky, on X, on YouTube, everywhere, and you guys can write in. We don't lock the questions behind a paywall of Patreon or something. Everyone can write in questions, and we got a few good ones this week. First one came in pretty late from Sin, and he says, I have a late community question here, Boxy. If Marathon doesn't perform and Sony will face a fork in the road situation with Bungie, what do you think they'll do? absorb them or cut their losses and sell them off?
Well, it's part of their contract to absorb them, so they go into their studios, but they're definitely going to take a loss. That's for sure. I do think they're going to trim some of the fat of that studio. They're probably going to butcher a lot of that studio, because if I remember correctly, Bungie is the biggest team that they got, right, outside of Naughty
I think
Dog.
so. I think even
Like,
bigger than Naughty Dog.
Yeah, it's like the biggest
yeah.
team because they kept everybody when they bought them as a whole. So yeah, that's the biggest team. So odds are they're either going to cut them in terms of like getting rid of some of the workforce, which I think would be ridiculous, but at the same time they would do that to alleviate costs. And obviously they will absorb them, and then they will rule them kind of like how they're doing the Naughty Dog situation, where they will legit be there and monitoring everything they're working on and doing full on. Because right now, Bungie has been working as their own select separate unit where they don't necessarily
that was
have
part of the contract, right?
Yeah,
that they kind of stay independent within the Sony organization.
Yep. Like they'll report to Sony because they bought them, but or they're funding them.
Yeah.
But they're still operating as if they're their own thing. Hence why their games were going, like Marathon Mercreco is still going to Xbox. It's on PC and PlayStation, but still, that's going to end up being the case anyway, even when they get absorbed. So it's really what it's going to be like there. Don't expect the studio to go bye-bye. I don't think they're going to sell it. That would be another PR nightmare on their front if they were to sell Bungie.
I agree.
Because people are going to look at that as back-to-back. Just what are you doing? They've already lost Fire Sprite, and Fire Sprite's.
Well, it's not only that, but if they shut at Bungie, it would just be such a black mark on Sony as to.
Yep.
You closed one of the legendary studios that have been there since almost day dot.
Yep.
Like
honestly, Bungie will just end up in oblivion, and they will slowly die off, and we will probably just not hear anything.
Yeah, like the worst case scenario, Boxy and Dutch would be. You guys remember Visceral Games?
Yeah.
It would be like Visceral Games. That would be the worst case scenario for Bungie if it ever ended up being like a Visceral Games where that studio is just done. Their games are Stuff of Legends, like Dead Space is at this point in Dead Space 2. Stuff of Legends, and they'll just be done, and then you'll have them be. Teams be here and here. Like Sony's already missed a golden opportunity with Ready at Dawn. That's another studio that they should just bought. Flat out should have bought, but they didn't do it. They let that studio go. Now they're forced into doing VR titles.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. But I see that being the case for Marathon.
Sith Lord writes in and asks this: Nintendo is not sending review units until the release date. They say it's for a day one update, but do you think it's ready so things don't leak, or may they have a feature that they don't want people to know? I doubt the last part.
Yeah,
I think personally it is simply because Nintendo do not want people covering that thing until it's ready to cover, and by that they mean launch day.
Yeah.
They want nothing out there.
I can understand that tactic because things get patched with a day one patch, right?
Yeah.
And the reviews will be out there forever. So the first experience and the first reviews, even if you Google in like a year or two, you will still find these early reviews. It's, I think, just for them a safety precaution because they've sold out all the units anyway. They don't need the reviews to sell the console on day one. They have already sold those. Yeah, so it wouldn't help them in any way, shape, or form to have review units out there early and have reviews out there early. I think that is the simple reason for that.
Also, didn't somebody like breach a contract for them or whatever? They like leaked the design or something. They were like suing them.
Yeah, there was this one supplier who did accessories.
So I'm thinking that's that too, like stuff like that, like other things. But again, this is Nintendo. Nintendo is but a Nintendo.
So Charles Wilson writes in and says PlayStation Stars is gone. Yeah.
Oh.
Is PlayStation now on a run, but not in a good way?
They're definitely on a run in the wrong way. Again, they did this. So I don't know if you guys you're familiar or you guys used it at all, but basically you get points per purchase you get. So every game you buy, like every AAA game you buy, especially new, you can get up to about 700, 800 points per game that you buy. That's in the little hype thing that they have here for you to buy. And you buy those, and then you get the little NFT type thing. Low key, I do believe PlayStation Stars started off as like some NFT type of thing they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? Nah, this ain't gonna work. People ain't gonna buy this. Let's throw this into a Stars, give them this, this virtual cabinet of stuff that they can get, and then we'll just throw it like that. So they did that. 700, points per game, 800 depending or whatever, and you can use those points and you can buy. You can actually get games, but the thing is, the games they were selling, points wise, was like 25,000 points. Some were like 40,000 points, and then
only a limited amount of games. I mean, it was basically I was said it's the cheap version of the Xbox reward system, because Xbox also
pretty much was. Yeah, because you can get rewards in Xbox just using the Microsoft Edge
everything.
Browser.
Buying stuff gives you rewards points. There's plenty of ways to earn reward points, but you can actually use it for whatever you want. Yeah. Right? I bought plenty of games simply from my reward points.
Yeah,
you have enough. You get get $50 of credit and just buy something from it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too about it. So you had I guess the cheapest thing, right, was to get the like $5 to $10 PSN codes and the thing, so that you can buy PS Plus, if that makes sense. That was the only real good thing too about this, because you didn't get that crazy amount of points unless you're just buying everything for the sake of buying everything. And then now that PSN, or not just PSN, but now that game prices are about, they just warned you about going to $80 at this point. It kind of makes you wonder, is PS Plus also going up as well in the midst of this, of them saying, hey, yeah, guys, Stars is done. Now, some people are bringing up that, we're going to have that they might be working on a new version of Stars. Here's the thing. If they are working on a new version of Stars, I guarantee you it's going to feel a lot like what you guys seen with a lot of games lately, where they gimp your earnings in regards to how much points you get. And it's going to be significantly more upcharged per points for stuff. So you're paying more, in this case, $80, and you're getting significantly less in points to use to get, all that stuff. Because that's what it is.
Something like the Ubisoft points, or whatever they are called. UB points, I don't know.
You play something, yeah.
You play points, something where you then can get a skin in a certain game, or
that nobody uses. Worthless points. But that's exactly what it is. Like they know. And people say, they knew they were losing the money by they make this. Well, here's the thing. Sony was desperate as ever to get into good graces. Let's just put it like that. But now that everybody has already done this, it's now their turn to show you that, listen, they don't really care about being your good graces. They care about money, even though they're making money off hardware, which is crazy. Look up.
But if I'm completely honest, I don't think that they will bring any kind of reward system back in the foreseeable future.
If it is, it won't be money related like it kind of was for this app, where you can buy games in particular or plus. I see it just being more as you remember like they did the anniversary for God of War, they gave everybody free skins for God of War Ragnarok. I can see something like that, like you being a member for this and you get skins for select games.
That I can see. That I can see.
I believe it's going to be something like that.
All right. Final question of the day. It's a long one. The Big Rich writes in and asks. He always asks. He writes it every week. Shout out to the Big Rich, man. Every week he's got the craziest questions we get. So his question for today is: you're going to confront your boss diplomatically for either a raise or to defend against a fault you didn't do in today's staff meeting. He's a tough and stern one. You then remember that this is a boss battle and try to play a good boss music to help you concentrate and motivate before you finally called in for the meeting. Which video game boss battle music will help you slay your inner dread and steady your nerves?
For me, I would say it is the funny. Yeah, I always think of this song too when I'm playing a hard game, but it's the theme song for the Bloodstarved Beast and Bloodborne. Get you to it.
Dutch, how about you?
Yeah, it is probably it's probably the Doom soundtrack.
Oh, he went there.
Yep.
He went there.
I'll tell you the exact.
How did I know he was going to do that? How did I know?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. I'll tell you the exact song as well. The exact song. There we go.
You could have said Night City. He didn't want to say Night City. He just said, nope, I'm saying Doom.
No, it'll be. Let's have a look here when I find it. When I find the right one. BFG Division.
Oh, go on.
Yep.
Good one. I don't know. I would go in with something epic. Remember in Skyrim when you fought the Elder Dragon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the big orchestra thing, something like that.
Oh yeah. You can't go wrong with orchestra games, man.
There's another one as well. The Final Fantasy VII boss battle music.
Oh yeah, that's also a good one.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. All right, guys. That brings us already to the end of this podcast. BitCloud, I want to say a big thank you for joining us today, dropping in here. It's always fun to talk to you, man.
It's long overdue. I missed chopping up with both of you, so it's been too long. You know, Dutch acts like a stranger. He doesn't call. He don't write no more. So I'm like, so, nah. Everybody in the chat, it was always fun. I am gonna miss this podcast when you guys eventually say bye to it. I will say
always stick with the world of gaming.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least I'll have that.
You have, and you always have a golden card to come here. You're always welcome, man.
But I will say this about midweek mix up. You guys made me a better podcaster. You guys taught me even a lot more. So it was always good. I'm always gonna appreciative of Dutch and you, Boxy, and of course, Patcha, everybody, man, Vin, you name it. So appreciate y'all. But as far as this was, for me, this is normal. I'm talking to my brothers here, but to y'all in the chat, y'all probably like, this is a great without. So this is me talking to my brothers, but always a pleasure. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys. Hopefully I can make episode 200 and absolutely say goodbye to this. But until then, I'll see you guys out there, man. It's Big Clout, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. That's you guys can find me.
Awesome. Right. I'll put your contacts in the description after the show. Definitely. If anyone doesn't follow BitCloud already, definitely do so. And again, man, it's always a blast to talk to you.
Yeah, I gotta meet up with everybody at Gamescom. You guys, I'm gonna have to try to get there. We gotta all chop it up at Gamescom. If you guys are going, or PAX or something, you guys gotta go out there. Dutch definitely gotta get the PAX. He'd be scared to go to PAX now. I don't know what's going on with him.
The problem with Gamescom always is it's right in the middle of the summer holidays, and usually we go on family vacation with the kids and whatnot. So it's usually the biggest problem for me with Gamescom. But Dutch and I, we went.
God, I was about to say, you ever go to Summer Games Fest? Did that ever cross your mind? No,
it's the costing as well. Like if the cost for us to go over there, it's several thousand to go over there for like a couple of days. It's
I feel that PAX has been better with their flex type of thing, where getting everybody in everything, but
it's usually not the entry fee. It's flying there, hotel costs and everything,
food, all that stuff. Oh, yeah, I know.
I mean, even we're saying that even Gamescom for that week was still like 1,000.
I believe it, yeah. Makes it all right.
And if we were going to do it last time round, it was even more. We were like, oh.
Nah, man.
And then Gamescom have increased their creator thing now as well, where you have to have at least 1,000 subs on YouTube, like 100,000 subs on YouTube to be a creator. We're like, what? We're like, okay, yeah.
It's like you gotta be if you're not if you don't have 100K subs, you gotta do what I do and just be journalist, and you kind of get like somewhat of a nod. I get messages all the time about PAX or Game Awards, so it's
yeah.
One of those things gotta make your moments more. Yeah, no, I agree. Though it's not cheap. It's not getting cheaper. Going through.
Exactly.
Hopefully, Xbox Game Fest. Are they doing that again, or are they?
Yeah, that'd be absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that'd be another one to try. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I love y'all, man. Right. It was always a blessing, man. I'll see you guys around. You guys enjoy your night. I know it's dark over there, so
yeah, it's getting late. It's getting late. Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, you can find me still here at WandrinDutch, of course. As I say, even though the podcast will disappear at some point, the channel will not. The channel will continue going, which is of course always good. But it'll just be streaming, etc. But we've got a while to go until we get to that stage.
We have a while.
Yeah.
The world of gaming here on this channel will stay.
Exactly. So, in terms of me, yeah, I haven't been doing much streaming recently, as probably as you can notice. But work is life, and unfortunately, life is taking over everything at the moment. So every little bit of chill out time I get is just okay. If I have a couple of hours to spare, then I'll jump on the game. I haven't got the time to stream, nor the mind to stream after being at work. So, I'll do what I can. But you can find me everywhere at WandrinDutch. And you can find me at the World of Gaming every Thursday, or every other Thursday, depending on how light or busy news it is. The good thing is, though, is we're coming up to June, and it's likely to be a little bit more busy because we know what happens in June. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We've got showcases galore. There's a rumoured PlayStation State of Play and or showcase. We've got Summer Games Fest. We've got the Xbox showcase. We'll likely have a Nintendo Treehouse Live or Nintendo showcase. We'll have PC games
PlayStation
showcase.
is apparently doing something in June.
Yeah.
Probably just a state of play, but still.
Something.
We'll
have things to talk about in June. We're probably going to be at least once a week in June, hopefully. But we'll see what happens.
We'll wait for that. Yeah. Exactly. All right, guys. Yeah, with that, this brings us to the end of the show. I want to say again a big thank you to everyone who joined us here live today. Big shout out to the channel members who do support the channel and the work we do continuously. Super appreciate that. But of course, everyone else who just tunes in and talks with us about gaming. We appreciate you guys. So hopefully we'll be back next week. And until then, we have all plenty of games to play, right? And yeah, guys, don't forget to game on.
Got my number figured out, a motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer.